Great. This is our second conversation about probiotics. I'm Emma Mentel. I'm a dietitian and healthcare practitioner, and I'm in conversation today with Dr. Natasha Lowe, who is a homeopath, and she has also been working with the company Metagenics for many, many years. Now that we understand what probiotics are and why they are important, I think it is important for us to now go and look at what to look for. There's so much information when you walk into a health shop or a pharmacy. If you go online, there are so many products available, and the information can be quite overwhelming for somebody who just wants to go and purchase one product. And I want to ask Natasha to share with you what it is to look for. What are the most important clues to go and look for, the pointers to go and look for if you are looking for a probiotic for your baby, your child, yourself, or someone in your family?
Thank you, Em. Yes, so I agree. I think consumers today and patients today are faced with so many options, and unless you're a microbiologist, you're not necessarily going to know which product to choose, and often patients choose based on price. But I will say that there are a few things that I normally recommend patients look at when they are going to a pharmacy or when they're in a health shop, and these are the general criteria, not specifically just for Metagenics products, but really for any product, for them to make an educated decision around. So the first and probably the most important aspect of probiotics labels would be for patients to look at strain specificity. Does the label on the bottle specify the strain? Now, I understand that people might not even know what that really means, but if you consider that we're dealing with live organisms, and so these individuals must have a first name, a middle name, and a surname. So when you look at a bacteria like, for instance, acidophilus, Lactobacillus acidophilus, which most people would have heard of. Now, Lactobacillus acidophilus is telling us the first name and the middle name, but we don't really know which Lactobacillus. So we've got the genus, which is Lactobacillus, and then acidophilus, which is the species. And within that group, within that species, there are thousands of individuals. And the third name basically denotes which individual in that species have we put in the product. So in the case of Lactobacillus acidophilus, we typically see in our products NCFM. So it's Lactobacillus acidophilus NCFM. That alphanumerical right at the end is what tells us which individual within that species have we put in the product. Why is that important? So in clinical practice, especially if we consider what you do in practice, you want to use probiotics in a very targeted way to change health outcomes. And in order for you as a practitioner to know what the product is likely to do and how it's going to change trajectory, you need strain identification. So strain identification is something that is not actually on all labels. So you'll be surprised when you walk into a scenario where there are multiple products on the shelf. Many of them will just have the genus and the species. So they'll say Lactobacillus acidophilus, Lactobacillus rhamnosus. So my clue to patients is always, if there's only a first name and a middle name, stay away. The alphanumerical will often be either letters, between 3 to 4 letters, like NCFM, or it might be a combination of letters and numbers like BIOC. You always want that third alphanumerical on the label, and that will tell you that the company that has produced that product was able to test the final product to make sure that that they've got specific strains in there and that the strains haven't mutated, because that can happen. Microbes are alive and they're difficult customers to work with, and great lengths go into producing microbes to keep them stable and to keep them happy, and to ensure that the product that the patient then uses at the end of the day is not a mutated version of the original. Does that make sense? Does that help?
Yeah.
So strain identification, so 3 names. The other thing that's also really important is something called CFU count. So CFU stands for colony forming unit. So that is just the amount of microbes per serving. And again, if we go back to the original definition of what a probiotic is, we need something in adequate amounts. So you need you need billions of strains typically per serving, because they've got a long road to travel in the gastrointestinal tract, and you want to make sure that you've got enough of them that when they encounter, it's basically like sending troops to war. You need a huge army. The bigger your army, the better the likelihood of survival and winning the war. And these guys encounter all kinds of things, whether it's parasites, whether it's other bad microbes, whether it's a leaky gut, or inflammation can even kill them. So they have to face a lot of things as they move through the gut. And so CFU count is very important, and you want something that's on the higher end of CFU. It is true that some studies will show that even at lower dose, you get an effect. But many studies show that the higher dose will give you a better effect. And especially if you have a patient who has taken an antibiotic, or you have a patient on polypharmacy, or a patient who's already got some kind of pathology in their body, the higher the CFU count, the better. So comparing CFU is the next thing. And then the last thing I would say is packaging, believe it or not. I myself am a packaging girl. The prettier the packaging, the more likely I am to purchase it myself. But I'm not actually talking about the aesthetics here. So for instance, you want it to ideally be in an amber glass bottle if it's in glass. Or in the case of Metagenics, we've just transitioned away from glass actually into a very specialized Activile container, which is a double-walled plastic membrane that actually is designed to keep that probiotic stable, to keep it cool, and to keep it dry. So the technology that goes into our packaging is very specific to our probiotics. They're not just in a random plastic bottle. So I would want to make sure that if it's not in something that's designed to keep that microbe cold and stable, that at least it's in an amber glass bottle. So it's sort of protected from light. And then most importantly, that it's protected against moisture. So the thing that patients need to understand is that when microbes get wet, they wake up. They go from this dormant, stable state into a very highly active state where they are eating and feeding, and they're producing other substances that can affect other microbes. So Metagenics goes to great lengths to keep their microbes freeze-dried, and then we have a special technology that actually sucks out moisture as we encapsulate the probiotic. And as we put it in this special new plastic chamber that we've just launched, it actually sucks out moisture as well. So in that way, we literally ensure stability of the CFU count. We maintain that CFU count. And then one thing I do want to say in closing, Emma, is that with regards to CFU counts, something that consumers might not know, and this is a bit of a punt for Metagenics, is that they literally guarantee their CFU count at date of expiry. So what you see on the label is what we guarantee when you throw the product away. In fact, at date of manufacture, the CFU count's a lot higher, but we state the CFU count at date of expiry. So that's another thing to consider. And I don't know if other companies do guarantee a date of expiry, but with a Metagenics product, that is a guarantee that we make to patients.
Great. So these are important pointers, and it's a lot of information. So before I even ask another question, I think we should leave that for our next clip. Thank you so much. These are important pointers. And for you as a consumer, for you as a patient or a client, the better informed you are about what you go out and look for, if it wasn't recommended by a doctor or a practitioner like myself. You want to know that you are making the best choices. And the only way to do that is by being knowledgeable. And so I think this is a great way of educating you so that you can make more informed choices. Okay, more about this in our next clip. Thank you so much.
Thank you.